Today we step into the world of Paul Newman Racing. These cars we are showing you today are owned now by Adam Carolla, and he loaned them to the National Automobile Museum for our enjoyment. We hope you liked the video and leave a comment as to which car is your favorite. This is Paul Newman's 1971 Triumph TR6, the car that marked a turning point in his racing journey. Though Newman had tinkered with racing earlier, the TR6 would be the machine that cemented his reputation as a serious competitor. Newman drove the TR6 in the SCCA D production class, culminating in his winning the 1976 SCCA National Championship in D production. For Newman, the TR6 was more than a car. It was a proof point that he belonged on track, competing wheel to wheel. He used the momentum from his TR6 season to deepen his collaboration with Sharp and later transition into heavier racing ventures with Datsuns, Nissans, and eventually Trans Am machinery. In 1972, Paul Newman took his passion for racing to the next level behind the wheel of a Ford Escort MK1 prepared by Bob Sharp Racing. What began as a hobby quickly turned serious. Newman sharpened his driving skills in this nimble Escort, competing in SCCA events and earning early podium finishes that hinted at the champion he'd become. The MK1 was more than a car. It was the spark that ignited one of the most respected second careers in motorsport history. Here we see Paul Newman's 1974 Porsche 911S, a classic example of his deep connection to Porsche and his appreciation for finely engineered sports cars. While Newman became best known for racing Datsuns, Nissans, and powerful Trans Am machines on the track, off the track he gravitated toward Porsches, cars that matched his precision and passion for driving. The 911S was one of his more personal, road-going performance cars, a machine that reflected both style and substance. Here stands Paul Newman's 1977 Datsun 200SX, a car that represents the turning point of his racing career. This is the machine that elevated him from weekend competitor to serious contender. For Newman, this car wasn't any old race car, it was validation. The success of the 200SX opened the doors to factory-backed campaigns, hired tier racing with Nissan, but ultimately his transition into major series like IMSA and the Trans Am circuit. Here we have Paul Newman's 1979 Nissan 280ZX, a powerhouse that marked the evolution of his racing career. Prepared by Bob Sharp Racing, this car built on Newman's earlier Datsun successes in moving into higher horsepower and more aggressive setups. With its turbocharged engine and performance upgrades, the Nissan 280ZDX demanded skill, precision, and courage. Qualities Newman brought to every track. This car wasn't just for show, it helped define him as a serious racer by balancing raw power with driver finesse. Today it stands as a testament to Newman's dedication, innovation, and passion he had behind the wheel with every race. This is the car. Here sits the 1979 Porsche 935. Famous for Newman driving to an overall second place finish at the 1979 24 Hours of Le Mans with Dick Barber Racing, probably the most notable feat during Newman's racing career. The race was challenging, with heavy rain and mechanical issues affecting all the racers. Despite the obstacles, the team showcased exceptional skill and endurance. This Porsche 935 had previous victories like Daytona and Sebring. By 1986, Paul Newman was more than a Hollywood legend. He was a championship-winning race driver. Behind the wheel of the Nissan 300ZX Turbo, prepared by Bob Sharp Racing, Newman proved that age was no barrier to speed. At 61 years old, he dominated the IMSA GT1 championship, taking multiple wins across the season and securing the national title. The car with its sleek aerodynamic lines and turbocharged power, became an extension of Newman himself, precise, disciplined, and fiercely competitive. That season marked one of his most celebrated victories, cementing his legacy not only as an Oscar-winning actor, but as a driver whose passion and talent earned him respect on every track he touched. In 1987, Paul Newman returned to the track in the Nissan 300ZX 2+2 Turbo, a car that blended precision engineering with Newman's relentless drive. Built by Bob Sharp Racing, this machine carried Newman to another triumphant season. Even in his 60s, he showed no signs of slowing down, winning national events and securing podium finishes across the country. The 300ZX 2+2, with its distinctive number 33 and twin-turbo power, it became an icon of his late career dominance. It was more than a car. It was proof that Paul Newman's competitive spirit burned as fiercely as ever, defining him not just as an actor, but as a racer whose passion did not age. Paul Newman has now become more than a Hollywood icon. He was a force in American racing. Driving the Nissan 300ZX Turbo for Bob Sharp Racing, Newman dominated the SCCA GT1 class. He powered the number 33 car to victory at the national championships, proving that talent and discipline could outrun even the youngest challengers. The 300ZX's turbocharged engine and aerodynamic design matched Newman's precision and focus behind the wheel. Together, they captured multiple wins and helped solidify Nissan's reputation as a serious contender in American racing. Paul Newman's 1989 race car was an Oldsmobile Cutlass fielded by Newman Sharp Racing and carried the number 75. Newman tested the car and it ran in the 1989 Trans Am season. The Cutlass used a turbocharged Buick that year. While Scott Sharp campaigned the car in most races, Newman was closely involved as team owner and test driver. Today, the 1989 Cutlass is part of Paul Newman exhibition displays and archival collections. In 1990, Paul Newman fielded the Newman Sharp Trans Am Oldsmobile Cutlass, car number 75. As team owner and occasional test driver, Newman was photographed in the cockpit at the Phoenix Street Race on March 10, 1990, while Scott Sharp handled most race duties during the season. The 1990 Cutlass is remembered as Newman's final Trans Am campaign car and today appears in exhibitions preserving his racing legacy. Paul Newman also raced Porsches during his career. A notable example is the gray and yellow Porsche carrying number 15, a competition 911 that Newman drove in later historic and GT events. The car appears in auction listings and photo archives credited to Newman and is part of the visual record that shows his deep connection to Porsche racing throughout the 1970s and into later vintage competition.